He hangs up suspended mines in the canyon every day. Then he replenishes the ammunition for dozens of automatic attack cannons. Every 500 meters here, there will be a signal receiver. It records all the data it receives. Every month, he reports it to his superiors via radio. He doesn't know exactly what his mission is. He only knows that by guarding this 100-meter high observation tower for a year, the military will give him a generous bonus. On the opposite canyon, there is also a similar observation tower. It is manned by the Lithuanian military, but they are not allowed to communicate with each other. As an elite special forces soldier, he strictly follows the orders of his superiors. But one day, the sound of lumbering caught his attention, so he curiously came to the telescope to see what the people on the opposite side were doing. But he discovered a beautiful woman. He quickly adjusted the telescope to the maximum, but the woman seemed to sense something, and immediately stopped her work. Turning around, he instinctively withdrew his gaze, then awkwardly left like a thief. But at night, the woman actually greeted him first, even asking for his name. But there were rules. They were not allowed to communicate with each other, so he wrote the rules on the board. Noticing that the woman was a straight man, the woman was a bit surprised. She quickly wrote another sentence, saying her name was Daisy. Today was her birthday, so she would do whatever she wanted. He was amused by Daisy's rebelliousness, and finally, against military orders, told Daisy his name was Jeff. To make the birthday less boring, Daisy asked Jeff to dance to lighten the mood, but to her surprise, Jeff rejected her. The sudden gunshot shocked Jeff terribly, but to save face, he also picked up a gun. Daisy was also startled by Jeff's action, but she wasn't angry. Instead, she thought this kind of interaction was interesting, so she picked up another bottle and placed it on her head, planning to do some extreme stunts. But suddenly, she saw several unidentified creatures. She quickly warned Jeff that there was danger below the observation tower. The man, confused, looked down at the cliff, and actually saw several terrifying monsters. After a barrage of fire, they successfully repelled the danger beneath Jeff's observation tower. But Daisy here also fell into a perilous situation. Seeing Daisy in danger, Jeff quickly raised the machine gun. This time, it was his turn to protect Daisy. Watching as there were still monsters under Jeff's observation tower, Daisy gritted her teeth in pain and stood up. The two of them aimed the machine guns, firing at each other's observation towers. But there were simply too many monsters. Just as they were about to be overwhelmed, a monster triggered the defense system. The automatic dense cannon instantly activated. Along with their gunfire, they started an endless killing spree. As time ticked by, the danger slowly began to subside. Injured, Daisy finally collapsed exhausted. A few hours later, she woke up. She first treated her wounds briefly, then noticed Jeff had been guarding her with a sniper rifle. This deeply touched her. The next morning, Jeff quickly repaired the protective net, then replaced the suspended mines. Meanwhile, Daisy kept a constant watch with the sniper rifle. After the battle of the previous night, their relationship quickly turned into life and death comrades. Soon, Christmas came. That day, Daisy wanted to see what Jeff was doing, but found that Jeff had, at some point, made her a Christmas tree. A blessing card was also placed on the observation tower. This deeply moved her. For the first time, she felt loved. As the days went by, their relationship grew closer and closer. They made snowmen resembling each other, went out to inspect equipment. Daisy taught Jeff how to play the Queen's Gambit, while Jeff taught Daisy to be an explosive drummer. Though they were separated by an insurmountable canyon, their hearts were already connected. One day, Jeff found Daisy crying, so he asked her what was wrong. It turned out Daisy was grieving for her deceased father. She was deeply saddened, wishing Jeff could be by her side right now. Those words kept Jeff up all night. After thinking it through, he decided to risk everything for the one he loved. So he took a missile from the weapons box, placed it onto the operation platform, then removed the fuse and inner core, took out an iron ring, attached a steel fork, then tied a steel wire rope. When everything was ready, he took the missile to the edge of the cliff. Daisy immediately understood what Jeff was about to do. After handling everything, she looked at the opposite side through the telescope and saw that Jeff had written a dinner invitation on the board. This made her heart race with excitement. Before leaving, Jeff shaved his beard, then picked some wildflowers from the mountain as a gift. Then he attached a lock, took a deep breath, and unhesitatingly ran toward his beloved. No surprises here. He successfully reached the other side and finally met Daisy, whom he had been longing for. Their first close encounter. Both tried to restrain their inner joy.
You're staring.
Sorry. It's,
Yes?
There's a lot more green in your eyes than I was expecting.
You smell terribly.
I know. I underestimated the cable sag. I had to do the back half by hand.
Yeah, I don't think I can allow you to come in smelling this way. Why don't you go wash up quick at the bathhouse? I'll set up some fresh clothes for my predecessors outside the door.
While Jeff was in the shower, Daisy deliberately took Jeff's clothes. Finally, through the surveillance, she got her answers. In the twilight of the setting sun, they finally sat down together for dinner, opening up and sharing their past with each other. After eating and drinking their fill, they danced a romantic dance hand in hand. Their love deepened with this exchange. After one night, Jeff decided to return to his observation tower to work, but on the way back, the monster triggered the suspended mine. The explosive debris instantly severed the rope, causing Jeff to fall directly into the canyon. Seeing this, Daisy rushed back to the weapons depot, picked some usable equipment with the fastest speed, then, without hesitation, jumped off the cliff to save Jeff. The mist in the canyon obstructed her view, which led to her falling into the river by accident, and her parachute got stuck on a rock. Luckily, she was quick on her feet. She hurriedly cut the rope with a knife, and grabbed a tree branch to escape. On the other side, Jeff was hanging from a large tree. Though he didn't die, the danger was far from over, because a huge monster was crawling toward him. Just when he thought he had escaped, he tried to stand up but found that his body was immobile, white, sharp, and painful. Red liquid tightly bound him. Seeing that he was about to die here, Daisy suddenly arrived in time. With her excellent marksmanship, she shot down the piercing creatures one by one. Jeff's life was saved.
You came for me.
Like you wouldn't do the same.
After breaking free from the restraints, the two decided to find an exit as quickly as possible, but the sudden yellow mist made the atmosphere tense. Before they could figure out what was going on, a monster riding a horse charged toward them. The two were knocked down by the impact. After the crisis was averted, they finally had the chance to see the true form of the monster up close, but neither of them expected. The monster was wearing an American military uniform from the last century. Could these monsters be mutated soldiers from World War II? But now was not the time to think about that. Leaving this place was the most important thing. However, when they stepped out of the yellow mist, they were met with blue mist. The terrifying sight sent chills down their spines. All the trees here had fused with human skeletons. Each corpse seemed to exist between life and death. As they ventured deeper, the two arrived at an abandoned town. There were huge cracks in the ground, and the buildings were covered with vine-like plants. Occasionally, they heard wailing sounds. It was clear that this place was filled with danger. For safety, they hid in a church. But the scene inside was even more terrifying. The seats were filled with human remains, but they were different from the monsters. After checking, Jeff was horrified to discover that these people had all died from poison. The two were puzzled. What kind of disaster could have caused them to end their lives in such a way? Just as they were wondering, a group of human-headed spiders rushed toward them. Luckily, the two cooperated seamlessly, and soon took care of all the spiders. Then they continued their journey, and discovered a secret laboratory. Without hesitation, they entered. After a careful search, Jeff found a videotape. He guessed that the truth might be hidden inside. With the generator powered on, a secret that had been buried for over a century finally surfaced. It turned out that during World War II, the US and Soviet Union were secretly developing biochemical weapons in the canyon. Everything was progressing smoothly, but a massive earthquake caused a leak in the biochemical weapons. The poison gas mutated all the flora and fauna in the canyon. Their genes began to merge, which resulted in the variety of monsters. After learning the truth, they went to another room and found a modern computer. Out of curiosity, Jeff turned it on and found that another ultimate secret was hidden inside. It turned out that the research in the base never stopped, and the Mastermind was a military organization named Dark Lake. They had been using drones to secretly collect genetic samples to create super soldiers. In fact, Jeff and Daisy's mission was to help the Dark Lake organization keep the canyon's secret. Once the outside world learned of the canyon's existence, the self-destruct program for the stray dogs would activate, and everything within a 4.2 kilometers radius of the canyon would be wiped out. The location of the stray dog had a device that could help them escape, to leave as quickly as possible. The two wasted no time and rushed there, and this place was also the source of the poison gas leak. The ground was covered with monstrous creatures resembling nerve networks. Their neurons intertwined. Each nerve had a human face. The terrifying scene looked like hell. Just as they were about to reach the exit, Jeff accidentally stepped on a monster's tentacle, which caused the monsters to launch a furious attack. With the monsters turned to ashes, the two reached the top of the nuclear bomb. In a broken warehouse, Jeff instantly thought of a way to escape. It turned out that World War II military vehicles had a powerful winch, with some simple modifications, and by finding the rope that Jeff had fallen with, they could escape. After preparing everything, the two rushed to the spot where the rope had fallen, but as Jeff fixed the winch, a swarm of monsters charged toward them. After dealing with the monsters, they quickly started climbing. As the vehicle slowly drove out of the yellow mist, they thought they had finally escaped, but to their surprise, another group of monsters climbed up the rope after them. Seeing the danger closing in, Jeff quickly used a knife to puncture the fuel tank. Although this temporarily repelled the monsters, they lost their life-saving vehicle. From here on out, they would have to rely on their hands to climb. Fortunately, with their persistent efforts, they finally managed to climb to the ground. But before they could rest, their female superior suddenly contacted Jeff via radio. Jeff quickly lied, claiming everything was normal. But he didn't know that his female superior had already captured their image on the computer when it was turned on. The next day, they buried the wires and decided to destroy the entire canyon. But suddenly, a helicopter from Dark Lake appeared. Seeing the fully armed soldiers and their female superior leading the charge, Jeff immediately realized that their secret had been exposed, so he quickly signaled Daisy to run. But before they could run far, several drones took off from the canyon. The drones mercilessly sprayed bullets at them. Fortunately, both of them were top snipers, taking one shot each. They soon shot down all the drones. Then the two escaped to 3,000 meters away. Each aimed their guns at the radar. The stray dog self-destruct program was successfully activated. By the time the female superior realized, it was already too late. At this point, saving her own life was the priority. On the other side, Daisy had already escaped the safety zone, but Jeff, still injured, remained in the danger zone. Whether he could escape now depended on fate. With a massive mushroom cloud rising, the entire canyon was leveled to the ground in an instant. In the end, Jeff was blown off the cliff by the blast of air. His life or death was unknown. Daisy went to a cave for isolation, because she and Jeff had inhaled toxic gas in the canyon before. They were worried about being infected, so they decided to quarantine themselves for 5 days. If neither of them got infected, they would meet at the beach they agreed on. Daisy waited at the beach every day, but Jeff never showed up. To keep waiting for Jeff, she even found a job as a waitress by the beach, until one afternoon 4 months later,